The look in Ryan's eyes. When my wife introduced me to him that night, she spoke so casually that it almost slipped past me unnoticed. "This is Ryan, he works with me." She said it with a smile, the way one does at parties, light and unburdened. But when I turned and looked into his eyes, something shifted. Something in me knew this wasn't just another introduction. Ryan's eyes, steady, calm, almost too comfortable, met mine without flinching. For a fleeting second, it felt like the room tilted, like I'd stumbled onto a truth I wasn't ready to see. The party itself was ordinary enough. Friends, colleagues, a scattering of neighbors, soft music, glasses clinking, conversations tumbling over each other. My wife, Emily, was in her element. She had always been the radiant one, the woman people gravitated toward, the one who could host, talk, and laugh without missing a beat. I'd often watched her work a room with effortless grace, but tonight was different. Tonight, she seemed to glow brighter than usual, and every time I caught her across the room, Ryan wasn't far. I tried to brush it off. He extended his hand to me, firm, polite. "Good to meet you," he said. I forced a smile, shaking his hand. "Yeah, you too." On the surface, nothing about him screamed trouble. He wasn't particularly flashy. Medium height, dark hair neatly combed, the kind of smile you see in professional headshots. But there was a warmth, an ease in his presence, like he belonged here. And yet, that's what unsettled me, he belonged too much. As the night wore on, I found myself watching more than mingling. Emily flitted from group to group, checking in with guests, laughing, pouring drinks, adjusting music. And Ryan, well, he seemed to orbit her. Not in an obvious way, nothing anyone else would notice, but I saw it. The way his body leaned slightly in her direction even when they weren't speaking. The way he already knew where things were in our house, as if he'd been there before. "Relax, man," my friend Jared muttered beside me, handing me another drink. "You look like you're scoping out a poker table." I chuckled half-heartedly, sipping. "Just tired." But my eyes betrayed me, flicking back to Emily and Ryan. She said something, and he laughed. Not the short, polite laugh of co-workers, but the kind that lingers, that holds meaning in its echo. That's when it hit me. It wasn't what they were saying, it was what they weren't saying. Their silence between words seemed heavier than the conversation itself, as if entire paragraphs had already been exchanged in glances before the sentences were spoken aloud. I tried to engage with other people, shake off the gnawing unease, but it clung to me. Every time Emily touched his arm absent-mindedly while telling a story, I felt it. Every time Ryan's gaze lingered just a fraction too long, I felt it. And most of all, when our eyes met again across the room, I felt the unspoken challenge there. "I know something you don't." It was unbearable. I slipped outside for air, the night cool and quiet compared to the warmth and chatter inside. The stars above blurred as I tried to steady my breath. Was I imagining this? Was I overthinking a harmless work friendship? Or had I just glimpsed a truth no husband ever wants to confront? Memories began to flood back uninvited. Emily's sudden late nights at the office. The hushed phone calls she'd step outside to take. The new perfume she'd bought recently, one she never wore around the house. They had seemed small, dismissible. But now every detail sharpened like glass under sunlight. The door creaked open behind me. It was Ryan. For a second, neither of us spoke. He just stepped onto the porch, hands in his pockets, breathing in the night air as if nothing were unusual. "Nice place," he said softly. "Thanks." My voice was clipped. Silence. Then he turned to me, studying me with those unreadable eyes. "Emily's lucky," he said finally. "You've built something good here." I swallowed hard. What did that mean? Compliment? Warning? Confession? I forced a stiff smile. "Yeah, we have." But his expression didn't waver. It was as though he could see through me, past the mask I was trying so desperately to hold in place. Inside, the party was winding down. Guests filtered out with thanks and goodnights, leaving behind half-empty glasses and the faint echo of laughter. Emily moved through the cleanup like clockwork, humming softly as she stacked plates. Ryan lingered until the very end, offering to help, insisting on carrying bags to the bin. When he finally left, It was with a casual wave, a smile that lingered too long on Emily. And when the door shut behind him, the house felt heavier, emptier, but not in a peaceful way, in the way a storm feels when it's gathering, just beyond sight. Emily noticed me watching her as she picked up the last glass. "What?" she asked, almost playfully. I hesitated. My heart wanted to ask 1,000 questions, but my mouth only managed one. "How long have you worked with Ryan?" She blinked, surprised by the question. "About 6 months, why?" I shrugged, forcing nonchalance. "Just wondering." Her eyes narrowed slightly, a flicker of something crossing her face. Defensiveness, maybe. "He's a good guy. Helped me a lot on the new project." I nodded slowly, but inside my chest, something was unraveling. That night in bed, Emily fell asleep quickly, her breathing soft and steady beside me. But I lay awake, staring at the ceiling. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Ryan's gaze. The weight of it. The familiarity in it. The knowledge. I realized then that what unsettled me wasn't jealousy. It wasn't even suspicion. It was recognition. Because once, years ago, I'd looked at Emily the way Ryan looked at her tonight. And I remembered what it meant. It meant hunger. It meant inevitability. It meant something had already begun. In the days that followed, I couldn't shake it. Ryan's name surfaced in conversations with Emily more often than I'd noticed before. She spoke of him easily, like a friend, but there was a lightness in her tone when she said his name. The same lightness I once inspired. At work, I caught myself staring at my phone, wondering if she was with him, if they were laughing at some private joke, if their hands brushed when they passed each other papers. I hated myself for the thoughts, for the doubt that crept into every quiet moment. But I couldn't stop. The truth was written in his eyes, and now that I'd seen it, I couldn't unsee it. One evening, Emily sat beside me on the couch, scrolling through her phone. She showed me a meme, laughed, leaned into me the way she always had. And I smiled, but inside, I felt the distance. I wanted to ask her outright. I wanted to say, "Tell me the truth. Tell me what's happening with Ryan." But I didn't. Because once the truth is spoken, you can't ever go back. And part of me still clung to the fragile illusion that nothing had changed. But in my heart I knew. The party had ended days ago, but in a way, it hadn't ended at all. It lingered in the look Ryan gave me, in the silence between Emily's words, in the weight pressing on my chest every night. And so I lay there, beside the woman I loved, listening to her laughter, watching her eyes sparkle in the glow of her phone screen. But when I closed my own eyes, it wasn't her laughter I heard. It was Ryan's. And it haunted me.